Hey everyone, it's Ivan, kitbadger.com, out here for a first-ish look, something new from Leupold as well as Sig. We'll go ahead and start with this optic right here. It is the Leupold Mk5 HD 2-10 by 30. And it basically is first focal plane, going from 2, crank this up to 10, being first focal plane. Your reticle actually increases in size when it gets bigger. Also exposed turrets, so you can dial with zero stop, which is pretty sweet. And because it's first focal plane and a mil reticle, half mil increments, you can do all your work inside it. Also, there is illumination over here. And something I do like about illumination, having recently spent time with another optic, is there's actually an off in between all of your settings. I think this goes up to 8. Is the max, 7 or 8. And then of course, over on the side, you also have your parallax for when you start shooting further. But have I shot this? Absolutely have. I actually took this out to the range shortly after getting it. Got it mounted on here. These are in, I want to say, worn rings because, well, one, I didn't have a mount when I first got it. And this is a 35mm tube, which is relatively limiting with respect to kind of options out there. But ended up getting these rings by worn, got this thing on here, went out and zeroed it. Really easy to zero, all clicks, super easy to move, really easy also to just float the turret. And since then, I've actually had the opportunity to do some pretty fun shooting with it. Point of aim at 100. First 3 impacts were right here. Came over 1 mil. Again, I was pretty much lollipopping my dot right there. Next 2 rounds, then I ended up actually torquing to 65 inch-pounds, the rings making sure are good, and my group dropped to here. Came, I think, over 0.2, up 0.3 mils, and shot that group there. If you haven't seen, this is kind of my battle rifle, like what I actually wanted the SCAR to be, or the SCAR Heavy. This was actually a SCAR 20, cut down by Parker Mountain Machine, bunch of upgrades from a bunch of different companies. There'll be a link, you can check it out if you want. But this being a battle rifle, threw this thing on here, and the first kind of real opportunity to actually put some rounds through this, aside from just that day zeroing, which I think I took it out with ease out to, I think, like 380, kind of the smallest, most refined target I had out there. Collected data with my Garmin and plugged it into the app. Bam, hits at 380 on, I think, like probably 6-inch steel. Pretty cool. But then I ended up taking this up to my good buddy, Bill Rapier, and up at the ATC, Amtech Training Center, amazing run and gun. Essentially targets buried all throughout this deep timber, like cedars. And yeah, hard to find them, hard to shoot them. And so we ended up actually doing a really fun drill, me shooting this. The way it worked is on the buzzer, like we were running the timer, or I think we were actually using the camera for time, but basically once you started, you had your primary, i.e. your rifle, in my case, this SCAR 20 that I've modified for my battle rifle with this 2-10, basically shooting through. You had to get, I think, 2 hits on 2 targets from each position before you can move on. Once you go dry with your primary, transition to your secondary, same thing until you go dry with your secondary, at which point you reload your pistol, holster it, reload your rifle, continue on. 3 mags of rifle, 3 mags of pistol. And you just go until you run out of ammo. Count up however many targets you get. And yeah, quite a run. using this there, it actually did a good job for me. I will say I used the illumination. Is it daylight bright? It is not. But they're in kind of mottled shade and stuff like that. Actually worked amazing. Pretty much ran it on 2 for that entire thing, and being able to just throw it up, catch it, well, it was on 2, not 10, but being able to just throw it up and yeah, see that reticle. I've come to realize, rather than like dots just floating in the middle, I actually really like those stadia lines coming into the center. Find it, especially on 2, really quick to pick up, even in kind of like a run and gun situation. Then of course, I had another opportunity to shoot this, which brings us to what I got by Sig. Occasionally you come across situations where you recognize maybe there's a deficiency in some of your gear for a certain application. So with that in mind, when I was shooting the NRL Hunter match, a buddy I was shooting with actually had, which was really cool, a pair of the Sig Kilo10K, the Gen 1, set up on his tripod. And I realized, one, having something other than just a rangefinder, which not amazing with respect to optics, that's probably really good. And then also not having to go from spotting to a rangefinder to then get your ranges. And so seeing him put that to good work, I was like, man, I could actually use one of those. Fast forward, ended up going to the Sig Next event like a couple months later and saw these. I said, those are amazing. They are basically the next gen. So the Gen 2 of the Kilo10K. And so what are they? They are rangefinding binoculars. Not only do they actually have really nice glass, the information's amazing. So for a while I've used the, I want to say it's the Kilo5K, did a review on it a while ago, rangefinder, works great, actually used it in that NRL Hunter match. Definitely not 10 power. And the other thing with that is it will give you the yardage, and then you can pair it, so you can actually get ballistic data on there for whatever gun you're shooting, but there's kind of a wait, a lag, half a second. It's not very much, but you get one screen and then you get the next screen. With these, once you range, bam, you get all the information right away really quick, which is really cool for not only just shooting at distance, at range, because again, you can pair these on the Sig app and basically create a profile, uses a version of applied ballistics, gives you ballistic solution in here, but also for hunting, depending on how you hunt. If you want to hunt ethically and know exactly where that bullet's going, then yeah, these will definitely help you do that. So, broke these things out for the first time. I was actually down at Thunder Ranch doing a rifle class with Steve Fisher. Really cool. Did a bunch of basically all kinds of shooting, largely centered around the carbine, taking it out to a good 500 or so. And while I was using a just kind of standard AR, I also had my SCAR 20 out there. So given the opportunity, I had already actually plugged in my ballistic solution. And so I was like, well, let's try these things. Ended up lasing a target, dialed in what it said, bam, hits. And really cool. Basically, first time using these out of the box, create the profile for the gun, add the information, i.e. the velocities, and whatever bullet I was using. In this case, largely just shooting S&B soft point, I think 140 grain, 6.5, and this thing was amazing. Basically, would laser target, shoot it, laser it, shoot it, took it out to, I think the furthest I engaged anything there was like 700, and yeah, these things are really cool. I haven't put in enough time with either of these to end up doing a full review. I of course will, but so far, as kind of a first look, had some pretty cool opportunities to use both of these in largely just kind of different environments. Like this guy right here, shooting it pretty much anywhere from like 40 to 60, maybe 70 yards on a jungle run, through trees, everything like that, modeled lighting, thing did great. And these, really cool. I am pretty impressed. Not to mention just turn around lays stuff, lays some kind of like hard-sided, think like a building, over 3,000 yards. I don't remember what my come up was, but I'm pretty sure it's more than I can dial or hold in this thing. But as I put in more time with all this stuff, I'll end up bringing you guys a full review. And As always, thanks for joining us at kitbadger.com. Look forward to seeing you next time.